I do think there's a changing environment at the FDA right now.
One thing that FDA has put a lot of attention into is trying to keep more technologies in the US as opposed to going out to Europe. Over the last 3, 4, 5 years, a lot of companies have basically determined that there was so little transparency with FDA. They didn't know how long it was going to take. They didn't many times know whether it was going to be treated as a 510K or a PMA. And so they were reluctant to put a big clinical program together in the United States.
Generally speaking, new innovative devices, first-in-man studies, were not conducted in the US, and that was one of the things that FDA really recognizes. And from the standpoint of being a government entity and trying to encourage innovation within the country, and toward the mission of helping as many patients in the US as possible, I think FDA has opened up the doors on that.
What FDA has done to modify their attention to this area is they've created a vehicle called a feasibility IDE. And they've lowered the bar. They've allowed companies to be more capable of having sometimes less animal data, a little bit less defined on what the product was and how the product was going to be developed and designed over time. So in other words, it wasn't that stake wasn't in the ground with the full development, but yet they had good safety data and they had a good basis for being able to start a clinical study.
So encouraging trials that have very few patients, not gigantic pivotal trial for their marketing application, but feasibility, concept feasibility, sort of the thing that we think about at our early stages for innovation. They're opening the doors for submission of IDEs to start clinical trials earlier than before.
I think that's been a real positive thing.
It's also a way for companies to initiate a conversation with FDA a lot earlier. And one of the things that I think sometimes people don't recognize is establishing a relationship with even the division management, and them recognizing your company name makes a bit of a difference because you recognize that there's a face on the other side, and you build some empathy that way.
I think CDRH does have a little bit of a feel-good change that they're working on. Not something that's necessarily codified, but the idea that they really want to have a more open and interactive relationship with innovators and with companies. And I've really seen that with the processes, the products that I have in process with the FDA. Sometimes I talk to my reviewers weekly, sometimes daily, as they work out questions or processes or just resolve pending issues in a very interactive fashion. And that didn't used to be the case. And I know even for products for which I'm not in a regulatory process yet, that means I haven't made any formal submissions, I can pick up the phone, I can send an email, and I get an answer right away. And it feels much more collaborative than it used to be.